task 10 is about manage project changes. One of the most important one of the most important topic from the PMI perspective. Because whenever we take any exam, whether it's PMI, PMP, RMP, SP, PGMP, PFMP, it's all about changes. That something has changed somewhere. What you will do as a project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, risk manager. If you do not understand the process, if you do not take the process as per your PMI consideration or as per PMI standards, your answer will always be wrong. So before I start explaining the question, I will start explaining you the task and I will start explaining you the process so you can actually understand it. Then you answer. So task 10, manage project changes, anticipate and embrace the need for change. Follow change management practice. Determine a strategy to handle change. Execute change management strategy according to the methodology. Determine a change response to move the project forward. So you know that in predictive project management, what we have a proper change control system, which you should be aware of it. And what is change control system is about? Change control system is about that you should have a proper change request form. You should have a change log where you can log the changes, and you should have a governance in terms of change control board who will approve or validate your changes. If a sponsor is a part of change control board, their decision is enough. If they are not the part of, or sponsor is not the part of the change control board, then the change control board will submit their decision to sponsor. So it's like project manager will submit to change control board and they will submit to the sponsor. Ultimate approval will be from the sponsor side. And once change is approved, then you will communicate. And to communicate, you will use your communication management plan, how to communicate, what to communicate. If it is approved, rejected, or deferred, you will communicate to the stakeholders. And when you are communicating, if the change is approved or rejected or deferred, you will update the change log as per the status of the project change, that it was filed, it is approved or rejected or deferred. If it is deferred, when next we are going to submit it. If it is approved, you will update the baseline. So baselines can only be updated with the help of approved change request, not change request. And then you will give the new baseline or updated baselines to the to the execution team, and they will continue the process of implementing the changes, or they will prepare deliverable with the new scope of work or new changes. So this is what determine a strategy to handle change. This is what our change control system, that you should have a change management plan. You should have configuration management system to control the versions of the product and project artifacts. So you should have a proper change control system. You should go with the methodology and strategy of the change. What type of changes? So that will be the change control board part. What type of changes can be approved by what type of people? And once you have the change, how will you respond to it? If it is impacting the project objectives, if it is internal, if it is external, you have to follow the change management plan to avoid any gold plating or scope creep, because we don't want to hide anything. We want to keep everything transparent. Again, we are not stopping you for making changes. We want you to document every possible change. So that's the predictive mindset of changes. In adaptive mindset, what happened during the review meeting of the project? After the end of iteration or a sprint, we have review meeting. The purpose of review meeting is demo and demonstrate what you have done and collect the feedback upon the requirements, new requirements, adjusted requirements. And those requirements will be going back to the artifact called as product backlog. So once new changes are coming to the product backlog, or updated requirements are coming to the product backlog, so now this product backlog will be called as groomed product backlog. Groom means something is added, something is removed, or reprioritized product backlog, which means new things have been reprioritized, changes have been reprioritized. So it can also be called as reprioritized product backlog. Risk adjusted or risk updated product backlog, if the risk has changed accordingly, but only product owner have the authority. Here, project manager have the authority, and here, product owner have the authority to implement the change. Okay. So this is what adaptive style of doing the work. Whatever the changes, they will be reflected in the product backlog, and then they will be prioritized based upon the prioritization techniques which were being used. And it can only be done by the product owner. So the sequence of the change in the predictive is that stakeholder can submit the change request. Project manager will look at this change request, that will this align with the project objectives, yes or no. If no, they can reject it directly. Sir, sorry, go and ask sponsor directly for that. And if you really need it, then we can submit to the change control board. So then it will be what we call it examine, perform the impact assessment. That's a chart available in the slides also. Examine that how this change will impact the project constraints and objectives, such as scope, schedule, cost, quality, risk, resource, and then submit to change control board. After the change control board decision, you will communicate to the stakeholders, and then if it is update approved, then you will update the baseline. And after updating the baseline, they will work with the new version of the baseline. So in configuration management system, you will make the change that, okay, this is the version 1.1 or 1.2 and so on. So this is the sequence of predictive one. And the last one is hybrid, which is more confusing for many people. How do you make changes in hybrid? So we know in hybrid, project manager and product owner are working. So project manager actually leading the product owner based upon the authority again. Ideally, project manager is leading product owner, and product owner is leading the teams to deliver the unknown part of the project, while project manager is working with another team to deliver the known part of the project. So if there are minor changes, product owner can update the product backlog based upon the review meeting feedback. If it is a major change which requires baseline update, so baselines are still in the control of project management. So any decision related to the baseline change, project manager have to follow the same process which we have discussed here, the predictive process, because this requires a major change. So in predictive, PM is doing the changes, means following the change of process. In adaptive, product owner is doing the changes in product backlog to align the business objectives. In hybrid, project manager for the major changes, for minor changes which requires value achievement, product owner can update the backlog based upon the feedback received in review meeting. If you understand this process, then yes, we can answer the questions by keeping these thoughts. Otherwise, if you will answer the questions based upon guesses, wild guesses, so it's not going to work. So let's go and check what questions we have and how to solve them. Again, we are here to learn to solve the question, not to solve the question. So question is, a high impact scope change has been fully analyzed. The financial impact exceeds the project manager authority, but remains within the sponsor authority threshold. The sponsor informally indicates agreements during a steering review, but does not formally record approval. There is a change which is above the threshold, but is still under the threshold of sponsor. And sponsor does not formally record approval. What should the project manager do next? Look, as a project manager, I will not work on verbal things, right? We should follow the process. Whether you approve it or not, whether you are influential or not, I will not listen anything verbally. I need something written. This should be your mindset when you're answering the question. What should project manager do next? Update affected baselines and circulate formal documentations reflecting sponsor directions. Record meeting minutes and proceed with execution since a sponsor authority covers the threshold. Submit the change for formal approval. Oh, that's the answer I was looking. So look, before, as I keep guiding you, when you read the question. You should have the answer in your mind that what should be the probable answer, and then you can find those in the options. Through the established governance channel before modifying baseline, initiate preparatory execution task while awaiting documentation alignment. You will not move until you have the written permission. Moving without written is destroying yourself, because if you allow once, then it will become a benchmark and then you have to allow every time. Very good. Next. In a hybrid project, a product owner removes an epic that was included in the approved scope baseline, but not yet decomposed into sprint stories. So it was in the product backlog, not in the sprint backlog. The removal improves short-term velocity and does not affect current milestone dates. What should the PM do first? So there was a change which product owner did. Now, product owner is removing something, so surely product owner have the authority to do that. But to ensure product owner is doing the right thing or not, so then we have to go with the principle trust, but verify. Trust is there, but verify. Go with this ideology, your answer will never be wrong. If you remember this, trust, but verify. Validate whether the epic removal alters baseline scope commitments and initiate formal review if boundary is impacted. Accept the removal because milestone commitments remain intact. Reinsert the epic to preserve baseline scope integrity. Document backlog reprioritization and inform a stakeholder post adjustment. D is also a bit good answer. A and B is like fighting or creating problems for each other. So yes, better answer is A. And this answer we are selecting based upon our answer, which we have already identified during our question reading. This should be our mindset. Let's go next. Regulatory directives impact multiple portfolio, which means change because of compliance. And we have zero tolerance for compliance. For regulatory compliance, for any compliance, we have zero tolerance. It should be handled seriously. It should be handled carefully. We can never ever ignore it. It should be properly documented and it should be taken immediate actions. But immediate action means you will go with the change process. It doesn't matter if it is immediate, so you will skip the process. Your project requires design changes to comply. The sponsor requests rapid implementation to avoid public exposure. Surely they are immediate. So in my mind, what is always coming that I have to evaluate as early as possible and submit the change request, get it approved, and then go ahead. What is the most appropriate first action? Implement immediate mitigations. Escalate impact assessment to portfolio governance while preparing internal implementation analysis. Submit internal change request to change board. Convene cross project working group without formal escalation. So without formal escalation, but the first part is good. Convene cross project working group, because it is impacting multiple portfolios. So we have portfolio, then we have program, then we have project. So your project can be a part of portfolio, or your project can be a part of program, which is a part of portfolio. And all of you are jumping to the answer as expected without thinking what you are doing. Implement immediate mitigation will never be the correct answer, surely. Because I don't care, it is very immediate. I don't care if it is something. I have to follow the process, whatever the urgency is. So A cannot be the answer. We can eliminate this. Submit internal change request to project change board. There is nothing called as project change board. We have change control board. Please be very specific with the words. Sometimes they use the words which are similar to the real words, but they are not the actual words. So they are made up words or make up words. So we know that there is something called as change control board at project level. We know there is something called as a steering committee at program level. We know something called as governance board at portfolio level. Nothing different exists at any level. So change control board, steering committee, and governance board. These are the three names you should know. If there is something beyond that, that will not be the correct terminology. So this is out of the league because this is not the correct word. A and C are out of the league. Convene cross project working group could be a better answer, but without formal escalation will never be the correct answer. So I can eliminate based upon that. Escalate impact assessment to portfolio. Yes, it's a portfolio level risk. Integrated project risk management or integrated risk management. That risk should be escalated to the appropriate level. While I'm here, I can ask you the same thing again. If the risks are related to governance, where should you escalate it? Those who are watching recorded videos, they can answer by themselves by putting in the comment sections. If the result is related to governance, who should handle it? So you are saying result related to the governance, policies, procedures, portfolio should handle it? No, it's PM or OPM at organization level. This is at project level. This is organization level. This is project means P3, project program and portfolio level, PMO. If it is organization level, then OPM, organizational project management. If it is related to the benefits, where you should escalate. If the risk is related to the benefit, where should you escalate to? Who's working for the benefits? Program manager or sponsor? If the results or risk are related to strategic objectives, who should handle it or where you should escalate to? If the risks are related to strategic objectives, then you can escalate to portfolio level. If the results are related to project objectives, who should handle it? Project manager. If the risk is related to the value or business objectives, who should handle it? Product owner. Very good. This is the basic information. Solving question doesn't matter. Having the information matters. So you can select the appropriate answer. Very good. So yes, correct answer is B. Escalate impact assessment to portfolio governance while preparing internal implementation analysis. Next, a production defect introduces safety risk. No compromise. Okay, let's wait here. A production defect introduces safety risk. So it's a conformance cost or it's a non-conformance cost? Safety risk is a conformance cost or non-conformance cost? What is conformance and what is non-conformance? Conformance cost is preventive cost. non-conformance cost. If you don't comply with the risk, the failure cost will be the non-conformance cost. So now you have identified a safety risk. So safety risk has introduced a cost which is you should spend now as conformation cost, because if it will become issue, then that will be the non-conformance cost. An emergency change pathway exists, but requires notification to risk oversight before implementation. Surely, as per the risk management plan, where we have defined the authority who can approve what type of responses, and we have already identified the risk responses in the document called as risk register. And we have also identified in risk management plan how we will handle the emergent risk and how frequently we will review our strategy to review the risk for past, present, and upcoming or future risk. How we are doing. So that is what our risk management plan, which is acting as a baseline based upon the probability and impact, and a risk register have the risk qualification, risk owner assigned, and risk responses identified, and also contingency responses or fallback responses. Immediate action reduces harm probability significantly. What should the PM do? When we are reading this, so what you are feeling that there is a safety risk, surely there is no compromise, there is no wait. We need to take immediate action, otherwise it will be very dangerous. So again, well, whatever it is dangerous or not, we have to follow the process. Execute corrective action immediately and notify oversight afterward. Notify oversight authority per emergency protocol, then execute change under that framework. Obtain sponsor verbal authorization, document risk, and wait for oversight approval before execution. So C and A are out of the league, right? Remaining answer are B and D, which does align from my explanation. So one of you is asking cost of quality is equals to cost of conformance plus cost of non-conformance. So the audit we do as a preventive. So audit is what? Our cost of conformance. The amount you will spend on audit will be the cost of conformance. If you don't do audit, because of not doing the audit, what losses you will incur will be considered as cost of non-conformance. So it's better to spend on conformance rather than on non-conformance. And failure of following the quality can go for internal failures, maybe rework or scrap, or external failures, maybe you can go out of business. So correct answer here is majority of you are correct that this word, we are saying safety. How can you wait for that? You need to follow and you need to implement it by following the procedure. So because of this word, B is better answer. Notify them and execute change under that framework. Under that framework of emergency protocol. Emergency protocol means change management plan is defined or change control system is defined who can approve what type of change, what will happen if these type of things happen. So you have already established the governance. Emergency protocol is what? It's already defined. I was in a hospital and I was discussing with the doctor because I saw it. I actually read those things in Saudi Arabia also. On the reception that it says blue code, yellow code, purple code, this. I was like, when I was sitting for my turn, I was reading the signboard. So I've read them there. Then I was discussing with one of the doctor. So emergency protocols are actually defined. So actually, one of my friend who died, and at that time I heard it from that doctor that if I think it's a blue code maybe, that if so the hospital receptionist or the ambulance guy will just issue the blue code. Let's suppose if it is blue, which means that in operation theater these type of people should be available right now, and these type of people should be available on the gate to receive the patient. So I think there are some people related to heart, some people are for the operating room, some people are the technicians, some people are the support staff, and then even the numbers are also defined. It doesn't matter wherever you are sitting in the whole building. So the people who are on the reception, they will not explain the situation. They will just announce blue code. That's it. We have a blue code. That's it. So whenever everyone will hear this blue code, whoever in that protocol will do his or her task as defined. So this is what emergency protocol. Similarly, in the project, when you have defined emergency protocol, so you will act upon emergency protocol means you have already defined the change control system. So you are doing what the same thing as I just gave you the example. Notify oversight authority like blue code or this code and that code, and follow the process. Execute the change under that framework, which means surely it will go to the processes. D could be the correct answer, but because of this weight thing, it will never be the correct answer because we have a safety risk. So yes, B is actually correct answer. Very good. Let's go next. Corporate leadership shifts strategy mid execution, which means board of director have updated the vision. The board has changed their vision. The sponsor instructs the PM to redirect deliverables accordingly. The pivot does not technically exceed cost tolerance but invalidates original benefits assumptions. So what you are working for, those are not there. What should the PM do next? Realign backlog and deliverables to new strategy and continue execution. Recommend closure of the project and initiation of a new charter. Initiate integrated change evaluation to reassess business case and governance approval requirement. Adjust scope baseline within existing tolerance. What do you think is better answer? There are more than one better answer, but one is correct. Corporate leadership shift strategy mid execution and sponsor instruct the PM. When a sponsor is instructing the PM, whether it's predictive, whether it's hybrid, backlog prioritization is the task of who's responsible for backlog? PO, exactly. So this answer will never be the correct answer. Project manager have this authority, even if it is tolerance. Never. Project manager can do what? Corrective action, defect repair and preventive action change requests. But to update baselines, never ever. It has to go through to the change control board. So these out of the league. Recommend closure of the project and initiation of a new charter. Good point that when business is not able to go, why I have to do this. But before saying this, I have to go to do this because they are asking next or first. So this will be the first step, and then this could be the second step. So they're asking next, so it means yes, C. You should have a valid reason to select the answer. Don't jump on the conclusions directly. Sometimes more than, or most of the time, more than one answer is correct. So we have to evaluate. Yes, evaluate and analyze. Before any action, evaluate and analyze. Very good. Over time, minor approved changes shift system functionality. Individually compliant, collectively the system now serves a different user segment than originally intended. Minor changes is shifting functionality. And it's not anymore as it was expected. What should you do as PM? First, please read this carefully. What should you do as what? If the word is BA, answer is different. If the word is PO, answer is different. If the word is PM, answer is different. Freeze further changes. This is what? Which type of action it is? Wait, did I ask you the answer? I didn't ask you the answer, right? Stay with me, please. Freeze further changes. This is corrective action, preventive action, or defect repair action. Preventive, defective, or after preventive, you are actually doing the corrective action because something has happened and you are correcting it. Is it corrective action or is it preventive action? Preventive, you don't want it to happen. Corrective, it has happened first and now you are fixing it. Defect repair it's not a defect repair because there is no defect, functionality has changed. So it's a preventive action or corrective action. It is. So based upon the corrective action, you are doing the preventive action. So first action is actually corrective. You are doing it correct. Conduct integrated cumulative impact analysis against original business case and strategic objectives. Seems to be the better answer. Submit corrective change to revert functionality. Escalate deviation to sponsor. What sponsor will do? Nothing. It has to go through the change control. So if you look at A and C, corrective action, you will take corrective action, but before taking any action, what you guys just said earlier, evaluate, right? Analyze, review. So better answer is exactly D. After that, you can take the actions. Direct action will destroy the assembly line. Very good. Let's go next. A vendor submits a change request adjusting technical specifications due to new regulatory interpretations. The adjustment has no schedule impact but modifies contractual deliverables. If you will not follow the contract, what does it happen? What is the terminology for that if you do not follow the contract? Contracts are legal binding. And if you don't follow the contract, what happens? You are doing the breach of contract. Use the right terminology. Breach of contract. Violation is also good, but as per PMI, they use the word breach of contract. So whenever the change in the contract, it has to be done with the help of change request and relevant stakeholder should approve. This is the answer. What should the PM do next? Accept, initiate, modify, allow. This is another way of answering the question. And again, Don't fall in the trap that the longer answer will be the correct answer. It's not like that. You have to read the words carefully, whether it is smaller, whether it's longer. Read the whole word carefully. And I have given you a privilege sometime that if you read the word like this, you can escape it. So yes, correct answer is B. Very good. Let's go next. A complex change affecting multiple subsystems is approved. Team members are prepared to begin implementations. Risk and quality plans requires adjustment, but do not materially alter tolerance. It doesn't matter. Now you should be very firm on it. It doesn't matter. You have to follow the process. What should the PM do first? Communicate, update, allow, begin. Communicate execution start and coordinate technical work. Update all impacted subsidiary plans and ensure alignment before execution. Allow subsystem leads to update plans independently. Begin work on low risk components while other updates are pending. So it's all about updates, but ensure alignment before execution. Exactly. So A is you are directly letting it go. C, the same meaning. And D also the same meaning with some plus and minuses. You should not start working until you have the approval. Because post thing I will do later. Later means if there is something, then you are carrying technical debts. Carrying technical debt is destroying yourself and making yourself ready to start a new project just to remove technical debts at the end of the project. While as per the principle of project management, we do not carry technical debts. Instead, we perform inspection and we perform alignment all the time. So whatever we do, we inspect to ensure we are doing in the right direction instead of just keep doing the work. And to ensure we are working in the right direction, we have the in predictive we have the phase gate, and in adaptive we have the review meeting to review those things. Very good. Okay. One question logical on this point, what I just explained, that we have review meeting and phase gate in predictive. If this thing is happening in adaptive, think logically and listen what I'm saying. If a risk is seen by the team member during the iteration, how it will be reported by the team, to whom and how and when. While working, team, listen carefully, team found something or team member found something. When, how, team member can report. Let me modify my statement. A safety risk is identified. Something like this. A critical risk is identified during the iteration. During the iteration or sprint, a new safety risk or emergency risk or critical risk is arise. When and how it will be reported? During, exactly, Umair, during stand-up meeting, because they will just report. Then things will be done by the project manager or team lead or coach or scrum master. They will analyze it and they will talk to the relevant stakeholders to finish it. If the risk is okay, you team member reported the risk that there is a major change or major risk is identified, which could be a safety issue or something like this. So what product owner will do? What product owner will do? What should product owner do in this situation? You as project manager went to product owner after learning that there is something like this, which is critical. What product owner should do? Wait, hold on. We have problem at iteration backlog, not at product backlog. During the iteration, we are at iteration backlog, isn't it? During the iteration means where? You are in the iteration backlog. So when you are in the iteration backlog, why product owners should prioritize product backlog? They will terminate the iteration. In case of a situation where business objectives cannot be achieved, where a new critical risk is arising, which can be dangerous for that. So it's beyond product backlog, right? So product owner will not let them continue and they will terminate. And then the prioritization will happen. Product owner will go to the stakeholders to discuss, and then product owner will reprioritize it. That is the reason. Because it's a critical risk which can destroy the things. Now, we know that we have done this to avoid, because in Agile, we do the risk management, right? And to know how much risk is involved, what team could have done to avoid these things happening in the future? What teams could have done to avoid these type of issues happening in the future? Surely retrospect, but they should run an iteration to know how much risk is involved. And what we call this type of iteration, where we check how much risk is involved. How many of you remember that? Team runs an iteration to know how much risk is involved. What we call this type of iteration or a sprint. This is what I call it. Answering the questions will not help you until you have the basic understanding. You will be shocked in exam when you hear these things, what I am saying right now. We run spikes. Spikes are the iteration which are run to know how much risk is involved in the project or in the feature to get the approval, should we do it or not. So there are two types of normally spikes. One is called as risk-based spikes or architecture or technical-based spikes. Risk-based to know how much risk is involved. Architecture-based spikes to know how the architecture will be affected because of this project. So that was the knowledge about spike also. So we discuss in this question spikes. We discuss in this question about how the risk will be reported in the adaptive one, what can be done to avoid it in the future. While the communication is going on, I can add one more point before I move forward. We run two more iterations, or we run an iteration to set up the things. What we call this iteration? There is a name for this type of iteration where we set up the things to start the project or to start working on the project. That iteration is called as iteration 0. Iteration 0 is done for setup. For inspection, before the thing goes to the customer hand, or to know the things are working in the right way, we run an iteration called as iteration H. 0 for setup, and for inspection, we use iteration H to ensure that risk is not involved there. Setups is done as required, so team can work flawlessly without problems. So iteration 0 and iteration H is done for their purposes. Great. Next question. A major system change is technically approved and contractually compliant. Operational leadership resists adoption, citing disruptions concerns. The sponsor instructs the PM to proceed regardless. Leadership is not happy and a sponsor is saying, go ahead. What should the PM do next? Execute deployment as instructed, escalate operational resistance to executive leadership, initiate targeted stakeholder engagement and organizational change activities prior to rollout, delay implementation pending consensus. You will not continue because there is a situation. Escalate operational resistance to executive leadership, then they will say, why do we hire you to do this? You should handle it. And you cannot delay the things. So yes, correct answer is C. Very good. Next. A scope change is approved by the change control board. The sponsor requests early execution before all documentation is formally updated. What should the PM do? Sponsor wants you to do the work without updations. Begin execution and finalize documentation concurrently. Complete documentation updates before initiating execution. Initiate execution after documentation alignment consistent with governance protocol. Allow partial execution limited to unaffected components. Begin and allow. You are no one to decide, right? You never ever have this authority to do that. B is better answer. But if you read C, initiate execution after documentation alignment consistent with governance protocol. So if you will select this answer, your grades will be needs improvement or below target. If you select this answer, then you will be target or above target. Like many of your answers are like this, so above target. If you will select these answers, needs improvement, needs improvement. Last. So I hope in today's learning, you learned something better. How to solve the question, how to wait and find the right words to select. And to do that thing, you have to do educated guesses. Educated guesses means you have the information available for making guesses. Not wild guesses, but educated guesses.